biases is for everybody, right? So not just men or women, but it's also, you know, your race or your, you know, are you LGBTI or whatever? Like it goes all around. And so what it actually means is when you look at somebody and then what you feel towards it, and it's like, oh, for example, and you just said, you know, the one that I relate to easiest and I talk about most is women founders. Men have their own as well, but you know, for the simplicity of this example, it would be women. So, for example, when VCs are vetting entrepreneurs, or even when entrepreneurs are sizing each other up, right? They're kind of judgy, and we all are judgy. We're kind of like, should I put money in this person? And be like, okay, um, this person does not exert or exude the normal CEO attributes that I'm used to, the stereotypical ways. So you always think that maybe the CEO needs to be like a genius or aggressive um, or whatever it may be. So one note is, as a founder, know what normal attributes investors are looking for. And it is not that aggressive and all that. That's one side of things. The main thing is investors want to put their confidence in yourself, into you, because they want to invest in your business. And they want to make sure that they're going to give money to you and put money, once you put money in, they're going to see returns. They're going to, you know, you are the right person to navigate this business. And what that means is, you know, your business clearly, you know, your facts, you know, and, you know, as a founder, if you know all these things, then you have to rehearse, make sure you get your facts right, make sure you actually are very knowledgeable about your industry, and exude confidence, or at least be assertive or sure of the facts that you're presenting, because the investor, again, is putting that money into yourself because they want you to succeed, right? So once you know what the investor is looking for, then you could be cognizant of your own personality. For example, if you're a woman that is soft-spoken, right? And perhaps soft-spoken is not always on the assertive side of things. Then you can rehearse or practice. It doesn't mean you have to like become a totally different person, but be clear in your vision, be clear on questions that probably will be asked, the metrics, the roadmap, the strategy, how you're going to hire, what markets you're going to go first, how you are competitive against everybody else, how you will win, why choose you, right? So these are the things that you need to anticipate, and then you need to, so that's from the investor side, which is forward thinking, but at the same time you need to do an inward thinking as well. Okay, what do I attribute that is maybe non-stereotypical leadership style? And again, you don't have to change the way you are, because I was talking to somebody today that, you know, the reason, and even my partners, so Mock, the reason why we invest in women entrepreneurs is because we believe that if women in a male-dominated ecosystem can rise to the top, this person is assertive. This person will stand out. This person will do what it takes. And so whether or not this person is soft-spoken or not, she is assertive enough to get things done. So know what it is, be inward, don't be so critical. Be critical about yourself, but not to the point where you need to change yourself. Just be aware of it and bring out your strengths. And sometimes the strengths can actually be a plus for you. So women are known to be nurturing, which also contributes to a healthier culture, for example, or lower people leaving, for example, you know, the lower attrition rates, or you're more sustainable in maybe your cost efficiency, or how you know, how you're training and all of that stuff. So there are many different attributes as a woman you could bring out as well.
Do you see that there could be a potential shift in the type of industries or the type of founders that the investors of today are investing now, given that the pandemic has kind of highlighted, you know, certain companies that could not sort of sustain very much, or certain industries that could not sustain during this pandemic. So I'm just wondering, do you see any shift in the industries or the type of founders and investors are investing now, or it's pretty much the same status quo?
I think founders usually will always invest their time or do something that they are interested in, right? So, but then there's also the type of founders that's like, okay, here's the opportunity and go there. I think we've always had like many different types of founders. But like you said, the pandemic has brought a light to essential tech or essential startups. So anything that provides essential goods, whether it be, you know, shopping online, food delivery, all the way to health, bio. There's a more importance towards food shortages. There is, so there's a lot of sustainability. There's alternative meats coming out. We're seeing a lot more automation, IoT, industrial manufacturing, robotics, and all of that stuff. There's definitely logistics has always excelled, and even more now because it's an essential good. Drones, again, that was automation. So we've always had all that, but it's just been, there's a more of a spotlight, and so that's why it's being highlighted a bit more. But yeah, I do see both. One, the existing, and then them doing very well, and then two, a new breed of founders actually focusing on that. In fact, we're focusing a lot on that as well. We, you know, as you know, Gobi has 260 portfolio companies. We invest in everything, and yeah, there's been trends that we've seen in our portfolio ourselves.
Right, I see. So, how then should startups be not a Me Too startup, right? What sort of unique business models should they have this time, their proposition and pitch to investors? I think before COVID, you know, people are pitching like, you know, I'm a high growth startup, it can be unicorn, and they're not profitable. But, you know, these days, then would there be a change? You know, what should they focus on? Should they focus on the bottom line now? Bringing revenue, profits to the business so that it can be sustainable and they're not too, you know, dependent on investors' dollars. Yeah. What's your take on this?
You know, if I ever had another startup again, I always tell my friends that, I mean, obviously there's money I would start with, right? But then there's also, I wouldn't be as eager to take money in the beginning. I would make sure that I grow enough value as long as I could, not as long as I could until I have to take money and only allow 10, max 20% at the A's and B's, which means the valuation of whatever you're building needs to be at that level, right? So that's just my personal way I would have operated. And for me, how I build value would be based on like the industry and all the different things that me and my team would put in. For example, I only would do businesses that have a competitive edge. I don't like getting into a crowded ecosystem. And even if it is crowded, I mean, back in the day when I did e-commerce, I knew that I had much less money than everybody else, which is why, you know, we shifted into the growing woman need. Nowadays, like, if I had to do it over again or start a new business, I definitely need to know if there's some kind of IP that I have exclusivity, something I developed, a market that's exclusive, something that I feel that I know that with my resources, whether it be myself, the connections, the business partnerships, something that makes it the unfair advantage, right? But not just, there's a lot of founders that say, okay, this is my unfair advantage. I need to do something that's beyond the fact that it's whoever gets there first wins. Because, you know, all the big giants come in, they put in some money, they hire 10 people, you know, and then you're killed, leaving you to struggle and then have to pivot really quickly. So I think in order to not be a Me Too startup, like find out what that edge is, or find out what the problem you're trying to solve is, and then see how you're different. It doesn't mean you're trying to create something out of nothing. I mean, that's definitely not not what I'm recommending. But right now, based on your last question, there's a lot of growing trends in terms of like problems the world has today that still are not solved, and new ways of thinking about like solving those problems, whether it be health or inclusion. I mean, some of the biggest hit people during COVID are not you and I, right? The people that are hit are the people that are daily waged people that don't even know where their next meal is going to come from, or what kind of problem. There's not many people problem solving those problems. So maybe I guess one of the things would be is try to look at a problem that people are not solving yet. You know, hopefully that's something where your passions also lie. But that definitely is something that's not a Me Too company. And then with that, try to find out what your competitive edge is, what resources you can do, and then create your own blue ocean rather than, there's so many e-commerces, there's so many like in the world already. We just did a few pitch competitions and we've seen so many, but there are some really interesting proprietary tech that we're seeing as well.